first thought, submit spirit to form matter. Our celestial humanity arrives, awake in a dream, an inception of our reality. So we live, we love, and then there is music. So we dance, we sing, we praise, we reflect, we return. In the infinite in between, the now that was, faces dance in our dreams. Some familiar, some
Ascended Visions Radio.
cosmic composition. In the irrelevance of this time, we realize the passion of the random capture, learning the lesson that the brotherhood of man is far more important than the ego of any individual. Imagination becomes the sound of thought, traveling at the speed of light. So we paint on the canvas of our ephemeral encounters with a masterpiece of memory that lives in the eternity of a child's.
Hey, brother.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, okay. I was wondering where you were.
Yeah, I got lost track of time. I was making a track up in here.
No, okay. No worries. No worries.
Yeah, so you ready?
Yes, I am. I'm ready.
All right, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me get the questions. How you been doing?
It's been an interesting couple months.
Okay.
Been an interesting couple months. Been an interesting, period of time overall and everything. But overall, I can't complain. Years. I don't really look at the, beginning of the year, in that capacity. I just look at it as just like, continuation.
Yeah, continuing transition.
Yeah. So, but when it's all said and done, I'm just, glad to be able to, do what I do when it's all said and done, and inshallah I'll do more of it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
So, I'm gonna start off with this: comic books, graphic novels, anime, etc., etc. Sort it all out for us and tell us a little bit about yourself.
okay. So, my name's Abdul Rashid. I've been pretty much a fan of the comic industry for probably for almost just a little longer than I've been, just a little under how much I've been alive, being honest. I mean, I've always loved storytelling art, comics, graphic novels, and everything like that. The storytelling opportunities has always been good. Now, I come from a fine art background. Being a student, I went to the Interlochen Arts Camp for a number of seasons and even worked there for a couple of seasons. And during that time, just having an affinity for just fine art and just the storytelling that comes from fine art paintings and visual art in itself, just artistry in all aspects, but definitely visual arts. I became a super fan of fine arts. I mean, comic art and everything in like the late 70s, early 80s. And I really fell into it in terms of the lore after reading The Dark Knight Returns, and I believe that was 88, a couple years after it came out, and just was like, okay, this is something that I could see myself doing ultimately. And I just love the pantheon of mythology that it builds, that it explores and builds on and everything, because that's how I see comics. Comics is basically just our mythology, 21st century mythology, our modern mythology. So So yeah, that's pretty much the gist. That's my love for art, my comics in a nutshell, and graphic art, and graphic novels.
Okay, so why did you get into it? Along your journey.
I wanted to see. You probably hear this a lot from artists from the Black community. A lot of times, you just want to see representation of us in something you love so much. You find yourself wanting to see representations of what that looks like in the world around us. The modern world has an amalgamation of color and culture and everything, and that's not something I necessarily was seeing during that period of time when I was, becoming a fan of comics and everything. Not to take anything away from Batman and Superman and Captain America, the Avengers, Justice League, all that stuff and everything that we see so prevalently, more so today in comics and media and various media. But it wasn't even really, there was hardly any representation of us at all. It's like a sprinkle. And even then, it was always support characters and everything.
So why do you think it's a need for that?
Representation is an empowerment, like for young people, for young people in general, for us. I don't care how old you are. You still want to see, when you look at superheroes, when you look at sci-fi, when you look at stories of the future and whatnot, if you look at stories of, the future or fantasies or whatnot, and all you see is one particular demographic, the first thing you don't think, it's like, so we didn't make it?
Right.
we didn't make it into the future. We didn't make it. And then as far as superheroes go, you're just like, so only this demographic gets to be the superheroes and everything. We either are the villains or the and even we can't even be the villains. So
right.
Even villains. It was just like we just afterthought. And when you're young and you want to see that level of like, I could be a hero too, or I could be super too and everything, which is what those stories inspire, the sense of empowerment and strength. When you don't have that, especially in this society now, mind you, there are other countries all over the world that have their own superheroes and mythologies, so on and so forth and everything, but the ones that are so much more popularized, of course, are here in the States. And with that being said, you want to, be a part of that level of mythology. You want to be in and not that you need someone else to create these for us. You want these also to be created by the same community that is empowered by them. You want the Black creators. You want, whoever it is. But as we're talking about us in particular, I want to see the Black creators. I want to be one of those creators that contribute to that. And that was a big push for me to ultimately, establish a platform where not only I can create, but ultimately create a platform for other artists who wish to create and expand these ideas. And being a Black Muslim in this country, I want to make sure that the translation of that is even more prevalent. Not just being a Black man, but being a Muslim in this country. One of my goals is to change the xenophobic mindset that is so perpetuated within this society as well, because everybody has their fanatics and everything, but one of the things that has been irritating for me over the years is this perspective, this negative perspective of Islam and being Muslim and being a Black Muslim and everything, which in some areas of this country is a double entendre of negativity, and swaying away from that. So that's a major purpose for me, is like to contribute towards changing those narratives.
Is African spirituality at the root of a lot of they say African spirituality is at the root of a lot of the superheroes, and they basically stole it from African origins of spiritual stories and stuff. Not stolen, but maybe
appropriated,
borrowed.
maybe some level of appropriation.
Yeah.
I would say you could probably take, that could be said in some aspects. I would say that there are other aspects where it's just like these are just other iterations of maybe Norse or Greek mythology for some heroes, like Superman and Batman and the Justice League and such as Captain America and Thor. Literally Thor is from Norse mythology. The Hulk and so on and so forth. So there's elements when you see these Eurocentric characters and heroes, they fall in a matter of modern in translation. Superman is Hercules. Thor is, Thor of Norse mythology. They literally take that.
Yeah, they say that comes from Shango.
That into, you said what again?
I said they say that comes from Shango, the original African.
Right, and you can look at it from that aspect, where it's like, and then you can kind of like look at from the now that some of these messages that were, I would say, from the Eurocentric characters, you could see like more of those yours from the Afrocentric and other demographic characters that are now, these stories are now having have an audience that wants to hear these different gauges of diversity, so to speak, and within that medium. Now you're seeing elements of Afrocentric and Afrocentric mythology and everything being infused to some degree. It's a long way to go.
Yeah,
it's a significantly long way to go. I mean, like it's monolithically large when it comes down to the level of Afrocentric mythology. There's a whole level of Afrocentric mythology that people just don't know about in Western society.
Right.
It's immense. It's immense.
Right.
And one of the things that I want to do is like really incorporate that into the stories that ultimately I want to have platformed and present to the general public, very, very shortly. I know for me, I've been fortunate enough to partner with just an amazing visionary when it comes down to setting up an opportunity for promotion of these stories. Zachariah Ali is his name. He's a co-founder of my studio, AHR Visions. And just his insight in terms of the type of stories and the type of stories, how we position, how we move, and so on and so forth. So I've been very fortunate and blessed actually to be to work with him and partner with him in relation to that, because like he sees a grander picture, same level of grandiose design, visionary design and everything in terms of the infusion of this level of storytelling and the positive promotions that our youth need to understand, so that like you're not just secondary, you're not just the side character or the villain or whatnot. You have every element and aspect, if not more, to be the hero. Because a lot of the stories and everything that I know that the stories that I tell and everything infuse a level of history that is real history, and not just fabricated conceptualities and everything. This stuff is what we did.
Yeah.
There's a comedian that jokes about, I think it was Richard Pryor, that said one time, we built the pyramid so good we forgot how we did it.
Yeah.
So I think it was Richard Pryor, or I forget, it was one black comedian that mentioned that and everything. It was just that was something that I was found, like, wow, that's right on point, exactly.
Right. So, how do your children react to your creativity?
My sons are, I have two boys, and of whom I'm immensely proud of. Both of them, one graduated recently from the Air Force Academy. The other one is in college right now himself, about to go into his senior year. And I will say that, they've enjoyed they've loved the fact, they've kind of seen a lot of these stories kind of take place and develop and everything, and it's long overdue, because I know I put a lot of time and effort into getting them to this point of now being able to get ready to promote and push out and everything. And they've been very supportive, of course, and excited to see it to come to fruition. So it's one of those situations now where it's just like with anything, now is they're ready to see it, and as such as myself. And this has been a labor, and again, I stress, long overdue. But this has been a labor of process, a labor of love that's been in process for an extended period of time, and now on the precipice of being put out. And I have their support always. I've always had their support. And now that it's about to come to fruition and everything, I think that there'll be a renaissance, a resurgence of this in motion, especially once it's out for the public to see. And this is going to be something it's definitely going to be something. I want people to be entertained, but educated at the same time and excited by what comes to fruition, by what surfaces rather.
Interesting. Okay, so tell me, when you give it a commission, how do you connect and convey the story graphically? What's your process?
So my main process is like laying things out. I like the storyboard stuff. I like storyboarding as if it was a movie, because ultimately that's a lot of times that's what these graphic novels, graphic novels are pretty much the blueprint of. It's like what the movie is, especially now that cinematic technology is at a point now where it can translate that. But I try to imagine first I have an idea of like what genre it falls into, and then once I have an understanding of the genre, then I match in my head from point A to point B, like, what it's going to translate to, what it looks like, if it's going to be one of these light tones, or if it's going to be a darker tone, if it's going to be a noir feel, or if it's going to be kind of like modernistic and paced in a certain fashion. Making sure I'm writing out the script for it, and at the same time, first doing the story for it, and then writing the script out from the story. And I do that portion of it simultaneously. So my mind is always thinking, always constantly in motion, and then edit accordingly and everything. And then ultimately the layout comes into play, and then we translate the pencils and then the inks and translates from there.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's an ongoing process. It's a never-ending process. So I tell a lot of times I don't sleep. My body shuts down and then I'm up again. So like my mind is always constantly going and everything. So I don't really. It's very rare I quote unquote sleep. I just rest enough to where I can like keep on going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about your business for the customers out there.
The company, the studio is called AHR Visions, as I mentioned before. It was co-founded by me and Zachariah Ali. Let me see. We have been developing the stories. The flagship story that's been in development is Black Rose, kind of like this is like our central character, who basically is the linchpin to what will ultimately be an expanded universe of heroes and monsters, of angels and jinn, and all these different elements that fall into play that create this ever expanding, gritty and reality-based concept of superheroes to this fantastical element of the superhero lore. So it's going to go from all these different levels of rounded superheroes to the fantastical. So our website is AHR Visions, www.ahrvisions.com, where people can get a preview of what it looks like.
Okay.
I'm sorry. But as I mentioned, it's ahrvisions.com, and people can get a look-see at a preview in terms of what is on the cusp of coming out. But Black Rose is our linchpin flagship title. And then from there, we elevate from there. We expand from there with the 8, which is our traditional superhero team, superpowers and whatnot. Scorn, who is kind of like who is our flagship female character, our main flagship female character, and kind of like a very gritty fist knuckle character. And then it kind of expands from there with Ugon and Ogun and Feral and Dynamic. Dynamic is a fun book with a fun title with martial arts and kind of like on the homage of the Shaw Brother films like Five Deadly Venoms and whatnot. Ugon is just another gritty. He's that character. That title is a direct spinoff from the Black ultimately a direct spinoff from the Black Rose title, and that right there is a very gritty and grounded superhero or anti-hero title. Let me see. Feral is what is it? Superhero based on science type of property. And we have an amazing content contributors and everything that fall in play. David Wright, who's one of our content creators, Pepe Lynn, who is a contributor towards Feral and actress in California. We have a couple of really good colorists, not colorists, but letters, and also an amazing art director. His name is Alexander Kutry, who's been I've been working with him for a nice little while now on different projects and everything. He's an amazing talent who's based in Tampa, Florida, and I've been very fortunate to have just a nice amount of talent and everything attributing towards what ultimately I know was going to be a very massive venture and endeavor that people are going to be entertained by and people are going to enjoy. And again, I can't stress this enough. With Zachariah Ali, I've always mentioned a couple of times that if we wanted to do a Star Wars comparison and everything, if I'm Luke, he's Yoda.
Okay.
If I'm Vader, he's Palpatine. So or the Emperor. So I've always found that funny when people ask me about it.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Lost my space here. Marvel, DC, etc., etc. Why do you think it's why do you think the comic book and graphic novel industry is so captivating?
So I'm not sure. Are you asking
just the comic book and graphic novel industry? Marvel, DC, and all the others and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Why do you think it's so captivating?
Well, I mean, it's kind of the thing about superhero lore is kind of a retreat from reality. We get an opportunity to see these feats of superhuman, beyond reality, feats of strength and metaphysical concepts and supernatural abilities. These are things that allow people to. It's an escapism, for a period of time, for however long it takes for you to read that comic book or that graphic novel or watch that movie based on these properties or that TV series based on that or play that video game based on these properties. There's that suspension of disbelief that is initiated, and the endorphins are triggered and the excitement is ensued, and you can't help but be fascinated by these fits of ability. I think when you see characters that have their, these have these amazing abilities, but also have these vulnerabilities and everything. There's a sense of relatability that inspires a sense of, okay, I can do. I may not be able to climb walls, or I may not have the technology to create this suit of armor, or like the only thing that could stop me would be this rock, this irradiated rock from the planet that I came from, or what have you. There's still this, inspiration to want to be more than what you are. I may not be able to do this, but I can have the superhero physique or the superhero mindset, or whatnot. So it's these things, this escapism that also can inspire. And I say inspire most in particular, not motivate, but inspire, because I want people. That's part of one of the reasons I write the stories that I write and draw the pictures I draw. I don't want people to be motivated. I want people to be inspired. So even if they were to pick up one book or see one image that I've done and everything, or read one story that I've written and everything, even if they read that, they might be inspired to create and move and navigate in a manner that inspires others. So I think that's the power of these properties. These properties, give. I think the best way to sum up, these properties give hope. I think that's one of the best things about comics and graphic novels and everything. Depending on the title that they're reading, which are more often than not, they inspire some level of hope, even if it's not. And I'm veering away from the horror concepts and everything, because we're talking about horrors or the horror titles or other titles that might be a little darker. But I'm referring to the superhero ones specifically, that we were talking on. But they tend to inspire hope. I think that as a species, humans are inherently good. I have to believe that, because for me, I want to see a world where my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, my parents and my parents before have worked so hard to see good things happen for the family and to people, for good people, for people, and be inspired to want to help and want to do good. That's one of the things that inspire me. I want to see people be good, be well. I want to see people be well, and that warrants being good to some degree or another and everything. And I think these stories provide that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a good person. I'm not nice. You got to earn my nice. But, but that's a distinct difference.
Yes, sir.
But I think that being good, in for layman's terms, being good, you want to see people be well, and I think that that's why these stories are so important. And it also shows that, like, even at their most down and everything, they're still inspired to want to see the betterment for people, and not a specific group of people, for people as a whole. And that's important, because we have to have a sense of understanding that holistically we have to find a way to work together in order for us as a species, as a planet, to survive. And that's what a lot of times these stories touch on and they talk about. And I think that that's, no matter how jerky a person can be, that there's a sense of relatability to that.
Yeah. So, saying all that, do you think there's a spiritual connection is there a spiritual connection to art and drawing? And where's your cloud to download from?
I believe that I believe 100% that there is a spiritual relatability. As an artist, you have to have some level of. I'm not trying to make it, this grandiose, idea of, like, this comes from the cosmos or anything of that nature or whatnot. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that.
It does in some respects.
Oh, well, I'm going to touch on it.
Okay.
I think that I think, I would say that, like you have to have a spiritual sense of understanding when it comes down to what touches you, what touches your heart, what touches your mind, what touches your creative flow. And I say that mainly, and I say it in that way basically because there are people who just function as like, I just draw, and without a full understanding of the spiritual aspects that can come into play. So for that aspect of the audience, that's one of the reasons I say, like, you have to get a sense of understanding of it. For me as a whole, of course, I mean, like, I acknowledge my talent is a blessed talent. And I'm very fortunate to be able to do that and everything. So 100%, I give all praise due to Allah for giving me the ability to do what I can do and think the way I think and move the way I move. And fortunately to have the people that I've come and networked with and everything coming to cross paths with them. So yes, 100%. There's definitely a spiritual element that comes into play. I would be remiss not to say that.
Praise to Allah. So, I'm really excited about the latest project you're working on called Queen of Shadows. How were you able to connect with the storyline and depict the characters so cosmically?
Well, I think when it's all said and done, it comes from, I think when you have, individuals that, I've been collaborating, obviously you play a major factor, in terms of, how these stories, your details are very vivid. And so like getting a strong sense of, I try to tap in regards to the creator of the content and how to develop it from there. Because there's got to be an understanding in terms of...
Yeah, it's like two minds melding together. One has the story and one has the concept and the manifestation of the reality.
Right. And I think that, again, not taking without that component, you're just navigating. And that's not always how a good property can create. That's not always how a property can manifest. Well, mind you, I've been fortunate enough to create a lot of content on my own, but even like I take in regards to going back to Black Rose, for example, this is a property that was created by Zachary Ali, as I mentioned before, my business partner. And he gave me a full array of content to detail what to manifest. And so as this character continues to evolve into ultimately what he needs to be in order to fight supernatural beings and so on and so forth, he gave me a full detail, and I was just like, okay, cool, because this will be a great fit for ultimately when he cross paths with some of these other heroes that are more mythological, more supernatural. Yeah. With this project, the one you and I are working on, this right here, and being new to it and early and being early in its development, the beautiful part about that is that walking through it and developing through it in its conceptuality allows for a proper translation. So you go through this and you go through that in terms of what works, how does this work, how does that work?
Okay.
And then once you ultimately you see what translates.
Okay.
And what develops and what comes out of it. And then, fortunately we have this amazing jambalaya of this jambalaya of creativity that just tastes great.
Yeah. That's awesome. Totally cosmic, brother. So you got any questions for me?
I would say this. So what for you as a writer, creator, and everything, I mean, like, what inspires you as an artist?
Well, what inspires me as an artist is a lot of my dreams. I have a very active dream and astral plane activity. Uh, I believe it's another reality for me where I actually exist. And I just translate a lot of those stories into this dimension. And basically, I wake up from a dream. I used to just have dreams and wake up and just try to figure them out. And now I wake up and write them down. I get on
Right.
my phone and journal it and write down the details as I can freshly remember it. And I write them down. And then sometimes other aspects of the dream turned into a vision, and I get other details of the story. And so it's like I'm a cosmic griot telling the story from perspective of interpreting my own dreams.
Right. Got you.
Yeah.
And and I'm always about series of balance.
Yeah.
So second question is, being someone that has such a connectivity in that manner and whatnot, what do you want the viewer or the reader to see from such content that you create? What ultimately do you want them to get from it?
What I want them to get from it is from the celestial realities of consciousness and kind of interpretations of the battle of the ego and the reality of the id and the superego and ultra consciousness and stuff like that nature. Trying to convey a story of just cosmically interpreting thought processes and dreams and visions and stuff like that, and putting it down and connecting it with the imagination of each person. I want to spark the imagination of each person so that they can tap into their creativity.
Gotcha. Okay, so to be honest, we have a very similar, agenda when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Like being artists and everything, you want to, inspire in different avenues and everything. So inspiration is.
Yeah, I guess I do. I guess that's a great part of it too. I guess I too want to inspire people, and I would have to say I also do want to motivate them to be inspired. That's where I want the motivation to be. Because a lot of people always say, when you ask them about art or drawing or music or something, oh, I don't know how to do that. I don't have a talent in my bone. And it's like everybody has a gift. You just have to tap into it. And I would like to inspire and motivate people with my talents and gifts so that they can spark some creativity in them, and then they'll move out on it to share their gifts with the world. And I think every individual has a unique gift to share with the world. Some of them may have several gifts like myself. And I think when you share with the world the God-given gifts, it will help humanity to heal.
Amen. I like that. That's actually, that right there actually is sums it up in its entirety. I think that's a really good, endpoint. That's a good bookmark.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you call those, bookends?
Yeah.
That's a great way to bookend this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, brother. Thank you very much. I enjoyed this, and what you can send me what images, like the images you talked about.
Okay.
And send me the images over that I can put it in the video, and I'm gonna use this new album as a backdrop for the music.
Okay, I'll send that over to you between now and tomorrow.
All right.
Brother, thank you, man. That was really appreciated, man.
Yes, sir.
This was definitely a bright spot to my evening.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Oh, I'm glad you like those.
Those were cosmic, brother. Those were cosmic.
I told you Nightshade was going to be something.
Yeah, Nightshade is on cold.
All right, brother. I will talk with you later.
All right, peace.
All right, and thanks again for the opportunity.
Yep.
Peace.